A very good evening to you all, and many thanks for joining us here on Rwanda Television. We hope you had yourselves a very productive day, and these are the head of our headlines tonight. The World Bank demonstrates that in the past 15 years, the foreign direct investment contributed 3% to the country's GDP, as well as to the creation of jobs on a 170% rate compared to the domestic investment. People using the international road Kigali-Gatuna say that if there is nothing done earlier before the rainy season is back, this road might get divided because one part of the asphalt road already was completely destroyed by the disasters. Once again, we're very glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. Now, top of our bulletin tonight, the World Bank demonstrates that in the past 15 years, the foreign direct investment contributed 3% to the country's GDP, as well as the creation of jobs on a 170% rate compared to the domestic investment. This is mentioned in the Rwanda Economic Update, the 21st edition. Prince Manzi has more on this report.
The report demonstrates the inclusiveness of foreign direct investment in Rwanda, as in the last 15 years, it contributed to 25% of the total investment, contributed to the unleashing of the gap between the import and export, as well as in job creation. The Minister of Public Service and Labour, Fanfan Gwanyindo Kairangwa, demonstrates that the country made a lot to facilitate the investment development, and it is productive.
FDI is an important source of finance for economic development and contributes to domestic employment, capital formation, and diffusion of external knowledge to the local economy. Indeed, if it is to list benefit of FDI, the list can be long, but let me emphasize on employment and job creation. It has contributed to the creation of direct, indirect, and induced jobs, which contributed to our national strategy for transformation, NST1, target of creating 214,000 jobs every year.
The World Bank Rwanda country manager, Roland Price, states that the FDI projects tend to be concentrated in Kigali with a much lower poverty rate compared to rural areas. Hence, the report provides suggestions.
The report suggests areas where policy initiatives by the government could improve the impact of FDI on growth and development. For example, encouraging FDI in areas outside of Kigali, in areas where poverty rates are higher. This could have a significant increase in the impact on poverty reduction. To do this, one would look to assess the factors that underlie successful FDI projects in poorer regions. And one approach could be to create special economic zones with availability of higher quality infrastructure and human capital in poorer districts of Rwanda. And we understand that this is very much in line with the government's current plans.
This report also shows that in the first quarter of 2023, Rwanda's economy grew by 9.2%, while in the same quarter last year, it grew by 8.2% and by 11% in 2021, which reflects the growth and current position of Rwanda's economy. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Residents from the district of Kamonyi appreciate the government's plan of providing electricity to everyone not later than 2024, which has improved the citizens' living standards. However, citizens also request the government to provide electricity to areas without it and apply efforts to strengthen electricity supply in areas with it. Shineteta with more.
Residents in Kamonyi district have expressed concern about electricity supply, where they claim more efforts need to be applied in its distribution. Electricity helps me iron clothes and I can also watch television, although sometimes it goes off for a while, like 3 times a day for about 2 minutes or more. Rwanda and the Saudi Arabia Fund for Development have signed an agreement for a concessional development loan of $20 million. The loan will finance projects aimed at increasing electricity supply, specifically in the district of Kamonyi, and will be repaid in a period of 25 years, starting from 5 years to come with a 1% interest rate. The Rwandan Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uzien Ndagijimana, says that the loan is to finance the already initiated electricity projects in all districts.
The other districts, as I said, we have a vast program of electrification across the country. And the objective is universal access. So all districts are served. So, but this specific project focus on the Kamonyi district, as many other districts, many other projects are already under implementation in many other districts.
The provided loan will increase the number of residents in Kamonyi district with electricity access by 6.8% from 59%. It is also expected that all residents will have electricity access not later than next year, 2024, thus helping in the country's development. Shina Teta, RTV News.
People using the international road of Kigali-Gatuna say that if there is nothing done earlier before the rainy season is back, this road might get divided because one part of the asphalt road is completely destroyed by the disasters. Samili Uwase has more on this report.
Coming from Rukoma Center in Gicumbi district heading to Rwanda and Uganda border, signs of this asphalt road demonstrates worries of people using this road, especially the one using it while driving heavy trucks. Citizen says it's a huge loss for them seeing this asphalt road getting destroyed.
The main importance of this road is that it helps us in the cross-border trade because most of the goods that come here are from Kenya. We are worried because of these landslides. We are passing by and then found out that the road has been destroyed, and it was around 4:30 p.m.
It's been a year since the road was repaired. People who used to travel using it didn't think that it would be destroyed easily. The destroyed part of the road is near a tea plantation. Citizens say that this is due to the factor that it is not well repaired. They request a well-studied plan before the construction.
Like right now, residents who are traveling by using this road are questioning this because looking at this road, the money spent while constructing it, the workforce used, and the money from the government, all of that is a huge loss. Because the road was repaired recently, there's not even a period of a year from when it was repaired. This money could have been used in other activities of development. Our request is that skilled technicians to first conduct the cause of such landslides.
The Rwanda Transport Development Agency, RTDA, points out that the road from Kigali-Gatuna was damaged due to the disasters that recently happened in May this year. Damascene Vizumuremi, the National and Urban Roads Division Manager, states that the financial means which will be used in this project is already available, and in July the project to renovate it will start.
The destruction of the road was due to heavy rains, and you know that it happened at the end of May, close to the month of June. And you know that in that period, we are closing the final budget, but because we noticed it before doing the new national budget, we have a plan of repairing it. We announced it to avoid an accident, and we are planning to start the activities not later than this month of July.
In ways of preventing the unplanned accidents that can be caused by this Kigali-Gatuna road, RTDA has established precautions alerts to ensure that vehicles slows down around those places. This road is normally used in close border trade between Rwanda, Uganda and Kenya. RTDA says that the road will be completed with a cost of 3 billion. Samili Uwase, RTV News.
Thank you, Samili Uwase, for that report. Now, senior directors and managers of various institutions and departments, including the human resource managers, have been advised by Professor Flo Lumumba from Kenya to be humble, unbiased, and value every employee on their respective level. This was during the ended two-day workshop on emotional leadership that took place in Kigali, Rwanda. Shina Teta with more.
Humility gives you power like no other.
Professor Flo Lumumba, a well-known Kenyan public speaker, has advised directors of different companies, institutions, and human resource managers to be humble and value all workers that have unregistered jobs who are usually undermined.
Many of us live in a world where tea is served to us on the table every morning by somebody we call a tea girl. Do we ever think that they are human beings? Do you ever imagine sometimes that your workers walk for kilometers on end to come to work? Or you just complain how sweaty they are and how smelly they are? That I did, and I always do, was to introduce Friday meetings every morning on Friday. Whether there is something to say or something not to say, everybody, from the cleaner to the top. And that is the day when we share our problems. It doesn't matter whether you are a manager or a cleaner. And the whole idea is that whatever you want to say, you say it respectfully.
4,300,000 individuals are recorded to be having unregistered jobs, and some express that they are valued less at their workplaces.
Sometimes when you're walking and someone throws down a piece of paper and you tell them to take it to where it belongs, they end up telling that pick it up, it's your duty.
The Secretary General of Rwanda Workers' Trade Union Confederation says that unregistered jobs take 90% of all jobs done in Rwanda, claiming that individuals with unregistered jobs should be valued.
Barahutazwa rero iyo tugiye mu rwego rw'abasekirite usanga umuntu ashobora guha agaciro umuntu ukorera mu igorofa hejuru.
They are less valid, where you find that those working from high-level organizations are undermining them. An example can be with security guards, who are usually given less respect. We therefore urge all people, including leaders, to respect everyone when doing their job.
Ukubahirizwa uko hakagombye kubahirizwa hakazamo n'uburenganzira bw'ikiremwa muntu igihe umuntu ari mu kazi ke.
In an interview with senior leaders and human resource managers in Rwanda, Professor Lumumba urged them to always cross-check before making decisions based on bias.
A leader must verify before acting. And what I'm telling you, a good leader does not entertain gossip. Because if you allow yourself to entertain gossip, then you'll be surrounded by individuals whose only claim to fame is that they come and flatter you. A leader must be able to identify talent. Because if you don't identify talent, then you will be saddled with mediocrity. And I'm sure some of you in positions of leadership, you've seen how mediocrity can take you back. Because a good leader also delegates without abdicating. You can't do everything.
This was during the ended two-day workshop on emotional and effective management leadership prepared for senior managers of various institutions and authorities, including human resource managers. Shina Teta, RTV News.
About succession.
Now, in connection with the previous story, Professor Plo Lumumba, a widely recognized person for his insightful perspective on the African continent's challenges and the transformative potential of visionary leadership, points out that good leadership is that prioritizes improving the quality of citizens and incites changes and growth. Now, in an exclusive interview with our colleague Olive Nete, explored the concept of transformational leadership and its profound implications for Africa's future.
Speaking of transformational leadership, which you have been talking about in your presentation, what is a clear definition that you can give to that kind of leadership, which is different from other leadership?
Transformational leadership is the leadership that harnesses the human resources in a country or in a society, using the characters and qualities of the people to change the society positively.
And how does this kind of leadership contribute to organizational societal changes and growth?
At different levels. If you look at the political arena, a transformational leader is a leader who has a clear vision and knows where he or she wants to take his or her country. Paul Kagame, your president, is such a one as that. In a short period between 1900 and 94, he has succeeded in harnessing the human resource of Rwanda and catapulted her into an orbit where friends and foes alike now agree that he has done a good job. And in organizations, we see those who have taken companies that were loss-making and they convert them into money-making machines. In institutions of higher learning or even lower education settings, we have seen such men and women in industry. They are men and women who are servant leaders, who want to use their God-given talent to improve the qualities of others and do so in humility, dedication, and with only one desire: to change society positively.
In your presentation, you say that good leadership is like water, adapting to each and everyone's situation without changing your DNA. How can leaders adapt to this approach in different settings?
You adapt by being aware of your environment and being aware of your settings. What is good in one situation may not necessarily work in another, but the most important thing is that you must never change your DNA. In other words, what you do is to change tactics in order to achieve the same defined goal.
How do you change that?
You can do it in many ways. If I'm in an environment that requires that I work throughout the night, I'll do so. If I'm in an environment that calls for me to work in a different way, I'll do so. In other words, circumstances define how I deploy my intellectual firepower.
How can this type of leadership be used to address the continent's pressing challenges such as poverty, inequality, and corruption?
That leadership's absence is what is undermining the African continent. And what one needs are leaders who are selfless, leaders who have vision, leaders who are dedicated, leaders who are not greedy, leaders who want to use their positions of honor for purposes of improving the quality of people's lives. And that can be done. We have seen it being done in a number of countries within the continent. I've already indicated and given the example of Rwanda post-genocide. And if you go to Botswana, one sees what has been done. You go to Mauritius, you'll see what has been done. Go to Tanzania, you see what happened during the period starting from Nyerere through to Magufuli and now Samia Suluhu Hassan. And if you go to different countries, you'll see what has been done. There are things that are happening which are positive and which, if they are deployed on a massive scale, then Africa can change. Remember, we are trying, in a manner of speaking, to irrigate the desert that is the continent of Africa, and we cannot use a teaspoon to irrigate the desert.
So you have been vocal about Africa's self-emancipation in a wide range of areas, but it looks like things are not matching your pace. What do you think should be done amid fears of African recolonization?
We judge ourselves too harshly. The post-colonial African countries, slightly over 60 years, some are not even 20 years. These things change intergenerationally. Let us not judge ourselves harshly. We have made a few mistakes, we have made a few gains. Ours is to always keep our eye on the ball. We must never lose sight of the antelope because we have seen a sprinting squirrel. It is one generation passing over the baton to the other, and in that way, it will be done. As I've said before, and I'm repeating it now, when you want to eat an elephant, you don't swallow the elephant, you eat it piece by piece.
Thank you, Oli, for that insightful interview. Now, the Rwandan National Police has urged the youth living abroad to always have Rwandan values and fight against the genocide against the Tutsi deniers. This was said on the second day of the Rwanda Youth Tour 2023, third edition, as these youth visited various public institutions and the Kigali Genocide Memorial. Prince Manzi with more.
Most of these youth were born after the genocide against the Tutsi. On the second day of the Rwanda Youth Tour, these youth visited the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi, laid the wreath on the mass grave, and were taken through the history of the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi in 1994.
I feel like when you learn about a world war or another, it's very factual, but the genocide is quite personal. I can see it in my family, so I prefer not to dig too deep into it, and that's why this tour is a very good opportunity to get a better look and a factual side, and not only the horror and the anger or the sadness, but why and the reasons.
iyo wigisha umuntu ni byiza iyo ubwira umuntu history ni byiza ariko iyo ufashe umuntu ukamwigisha amateka ariko unamwereka image yirebera wenyine ibyo yabaye proof ziraho ngaho sibyo mapreuve arimo kuyibonera wenyine akabaza ibibazo agasubizwa ariko areba n'ibyabaye ibyo ari byo ntabwo ashobora kongera kuvuga ibintu n'ibyo ngibyo kubera ko amenye ukuri.
In the tour, these youth visited the Rwanda National Police headquarters in Kigali. They say that the functionality of the Rwanda police is different from other countries, specifically where they reside.
The police here makes me feel comfortable. I'm not afraid. If I see a police, I'll go talk to him. If I get pulled over, I know I'm not in danger of any kind. I know I'm safe completely because we're all the same. If I did something wrong, then he'll tell me. A lot of people think it's safe where we go, like where we stay at in like the different countries. But from my experience, personal experience, it's way safer in Rwanda here than anywhere else I could be or where I stay at.
The police is very active in Rwanda, not only for safety or security, but also for the nation, for the Rwandans, for the development. They also create a feeling of trust in the Rwandans that we don't have in Belgium. In Belgium, it's very safety-based, but here it's all over, and it's very nice.
The Commissioner of Police in charge of community policing at the Rwanda National Police, Bruce Munyambo, emphasized that being born in post-genocide era does not prevent you to stress on fighting against genocide deniers. He added that as a youth living abroad, having facts is their best weapon.
Visiting different ministries, visiting different institutions, staying here and seeing what is happening is one good aspect in understanding our history and our current security situation. You are able now, when you go back, to demystify or contradict what the other propaganda or the negative ideology, genocide ideology. You can be able to fight it there because you have the facts, you have the conviction. If you are convinced that this country is going on the right path, then it is your duty and your obligation to defend it. It is your duty to confront those trying to defend and create negative narratives on this country. So wherever you are, whether you are...
The youth also met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Vincent Biruta, who welcomed them in Rwanda and appreciated their initiative of exploring their country's history. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince Manzi, for that report. Now, researchers, practitioners, and university professors believe that teaching students what will promote peace, especially in countries that were affected by war and conflict, is the way to go. This was discussed in the International Conference on Peace Education prepared by the University of Rwanda in collaboration with IAG's Trust. Jessica Agasaro with more.
In the panel discussion, researchers and university professors show that in order for the culture of peace to continue to grow in countries that have faced times of war and other conflicts, it is necessary to use the truth in education for all students in each level can be told what to do. As for the practitioners, to foster the capacity and sensibilities necessary to address conflict, promote human well-being, and realize sustainable peace.
Whether it be business, engineering, education, or medicine, I want to bring the lessons I learned here, take it back to my country, and hopefully influence more students to come here and learn. Because there's a big difference. You can read about an event, you can study in the classroom, but the opportunity to be there, to hear from people, to be at a wonderful conference like this, it's just a whole another level of education. So the big point of me is I want to bring the lessons back to my fellow students and especially bring it back to the world of business.
The world needs to know, to learn about Rwanda so we can teach peace because to see where the country went through and what we have been able to, this country, leadership, government was able to accomplish in terms of peace building, I think the world need to come to learn about Rwanda.
In this 3-day conference organized by the University of Rwanda in collaboration with Aegis Trust, they engaged in mutual discussion, learning and reflection on how to best use peace education both inside and outside the classroom, and that there is a lot to learn that help a country like Rwanda that was affected by the genocide against the Tutsi, and that this lesson can go from school to their home and their families.
Both a direct means of bettering the dynamics of the conflict at local, national, international levels, and a longer-term route to building the knowledge, skills, and capacities necessary to resolve conflicts, whether in the classrooms, in the local communities, or the country level. However, and yet, as rightly put by Harris in the book History of Education, I quote, in spite of its tremendous rise in the 20th century, that is, century before the one we are in now, peace education has not really taken hold in school systems around the world. Most countries have ignored them. In other countries, peace education is carried out informally in community settings and through national peace organizations. Well, that is some years ago. But we thank God that now in most countries, curriculum have been reviewed and prepared to accommodate something to do with peace education.
The CEO of Aegis Trust, Dr. James Smith, reminded the students who participated in the discussions on the side of Rwanda and those from the United States of America that what they are going to learn in this conference are to be used where they are, and learning about peace is not enough, but they should also participate in it.
Peace education is not learning about peace. We all know that. It's about making peace. Another important outcome of this conference as we collaborate together and have the courage to see what works, what doesn't work, and change our practice.
These students were also asked to remember the urgent need to address systematic inequalities, discrimination, and human rights violation in educational settings, and how important peace education in its fullest form is, as well as promoting and nurturing that. Lastly, they were reminded how to confront conflicts, division, and injustice in any situation. Jessica Agasaro, RwandaTV News.
Researchers from Meridiano Foundation in Argentina that carry out research regarding international relations and economic development are in Rwanda for a study trip where they visited the Rwanda Peace Academy in Musanze district, and they appreciate its role in preserving peace and security. The executive director of Foundations, Meridiano, says they learned a lot during this study trip.
We are very happy to decide to come to here in Rwanda. We are now develop of internationalization project called In Situ project. We decided to look for new partners and South-South cooperation, and we decided to go to countries in Africa, but of course there we can't go to all the countries. For that we are very, very happy to decide to come here because Rwanda have demonstrated a very interesting example of develop and also of building harmony, new harmony in his community, and especially in program for reintegration and for maintaining keep the peace inside the country. And for that now you can export that, and also about development, social development, economic, the environment of business. So there are a lot of the infrastructure here. We was in the infrastructure minister, the energy. There's a lot of issues you are doing very well, and we are very happy to learn about that and keep with us this experience to Argentina.
The director of Rwanda Peace Academy expressed the cooperation between Rwanda and Argentina will foster great opportunities and share experience between both countries.
Kumva bidushimishije ariko natwe twumva ibyo tuzi natwe ntabwo biba bihagije
We feel thankful, but also feel like we need to know what is happening around so that we can learn from it, given it can also help us to develop ourselves. They are on a higher level regarding research, and we shall cooperate with them on various project proposals, and both countries will benefit.
And on behalf of the news production team and I would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. My name is Martina Avera. I would like to wish you to have a great night.